I mean, look, in our world, all we really have is credit.
I was always bothered by how much value credit is given.
That's the only thing you got. I mean, if you're an academic in some sense, well, it isn't the only thing you've got, but it feels that way sometimes.
But you got the actual, we're all going to be dead soon.
Mm-hmm.
You got the joy of having created.
Yeah.
The credit with Jan. I've talked to Jürgen Schmidhuber, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Turing Award given to 3 people for deep learning. And you could say that a lot of other people should be on that list. It's the Nobel Prize question. Yeah, it's sad. It's sad, and people like talking about it, but I feel like in the long arc of history, the only person who'll be remembered is Einstein, Hitler, maybe Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and the rest of us are just like...
Well, someone asked me about immortality once, and I said, and I stole this from somebody else, I don't remember who, but it was, I asked them, what's your great-grandfather's name? Any of them. And of course, they don't know. Most of us do not know. I mean, I'm not entirely sure I know my grandparents' name, all my grandparents' names. I know what I called them, right? I don't know their middle names, for example. It's within living memory, so I could find out. Actually, my grandfather didn't know when he was born. I had no idea how old he was, right? But I definitely don't know who any of my great-grandparents are. So in some sense, immortality is doing something preferably positive so that your great-grandchildren know who you are, right? And that's kind of what you can hope for, which is very depressing in some ways. I could turn it into something uplifting if you need me to, but
yeah, can you do the work here?
Yeah, it's simple, right? It doesn't matter. I don't have to know who my great-grandfather was to know that I wouldn't be here without him.
Yeah.
And I don't know who my great-grandchildren are, and certainly who my great-great-grandchildren are, and I'll probably never meet them, although I would very much like to. But hopefully I'll set the world in motion in such a way that their lives will be better than they would have been if I hadn't done that. Well, certainly they wouldn't have existed if I hadn't done the things that I did. So I think that's a good positive thing. You live on through other people.
Are you afraid of death?
I don't know if I'm afraid of death, but I don't like it.
That's another t-shirt. I mean, do you ponder it? Do you think about the
inevitability of oblivion?
Yes.
I do occasionally. This feels like a very Russian conversation, actually.
It's very, yeah.
I will tell you a story, something that happened to me recently. If you look very carefully, you will see I have a scar.
Yes.
Which, by the way, is an interesting story of its own about why people who have half of their thyroid taken out, some people get scars and some don't. But anyway, I had half my thyroid taken out. The way I got there, by the way, is its own interesting story, but I won't go into it. Just suffice it to say, I did what I keep telling people you should never do, which is never go to the doctor unless you have to, because there's nothing good that's ever going to come out of a doctor's visit, right? So I went to the doctor to look at one thing, this little bump I had on the side that I thought might be something bad because my mother made me. And I went there and he's like, oh, it's nothing. But by the way, your thyroid is huge. Can you breathe? Yes, I can breathe. Are you sure? Because it's pushing on your windpipe. You should be dead. Right. So I ended up going there and to get my to look at my thyroid. It was growing. What's called a goiter. And he said, we're going to have to take it out at some point. When? Sometime before you're 85, probably. But if you wait till you're 85, that'll be really bad, because you don't want to have surgery when you're 85 years old, if you can help it. Certainly not the kind of surgery it takes to take out your thyroid. So I went there and I would decide I'd put it off until December 19th, because my birthday's December 18th. And I wanted to be able to say I made it to 49 or whatever. So I said, I'll wait till after my birthday. In the first 6 months of that, nothing changed. Apparently in the next 3 months, it had grown. I hadn't noticed this at all. Mm-hmm. I went and had surgery. They took out half of it. The other half is still there and working fine, by the way. I don't have to take a pill or anything like that. It's great. I'm in the hospital room and the doctor comes in. I've got these things in my arm. They're gonna do whatever. They're talking to me. And the anesthesiologist says, your blood pressure's through the roof. Do you have high blood pressure? I said, no, but I'm terrified if that helps you at all. And the anesthetist, who's the nurse who supports the anesthesiologist, if I got that right, said, oh, don't worry about it. I've just put some stuff in your IV. You're going to be feeling pretty good in a couple minutes. And I remember turning and saying, well, I'm going to feel pretty good in a couple minutes. Next thing I know, there's this guy and he's moving my bed. And he's talking to me and I have this distinct impression that I've met this guy and I should know what he's talking about, but I kind of like just don't remember what just happened. And I look up and I see the tiles going by and I'm like, oh, it's just like in the movies where you see the tiles go by. And then I have this brief thought that I'm in an infinitely long warehouse and there's someone sitting next to me. And I remember thinking, oh, she's not talking to me. And then I'm back in the hospital bed. And in between the time where the tiles were going by and I got in the hospital bed, something like 5 hours had passed. Apparently, it had grown so much that it was a 4.5-hour procedure instead of an hour-long procedure. I lost a neck size and a half. It was pretty big. Apparently, it was as big as my heart. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because
it's a hell of a story already.
Between tiles going by and me waking up in my hospital bed, no time passed. There was no sensation of time passing. When I go to sleep and I wake up in the morning, I have this feeling that time has passed. This feeling that something has physically changed about me. Nothing happened between the time they put the magic juice in me and the time that I woke up. Nothing. By the way, my wife was there with me talking. Apparently, I was also talking. I don't remember any of this, but luckily I didn't say anything I wouldn't normally say. My memory of it is I would talk to her and she would teleport around the room. And then I accused her of witchcraft and that was the end of that. But her point of view is I would start talking and then I would fall asleep and then I would wake up and leave off where I was before. I had no notion of any time passing. I kind of imagine that that's death.
Yeah.
Is the lack of sensation of time passing. And on the one hand, I am, soothed by the idea that I won't notice. On the other hand, I am very unhappy at the idea that I won't notice. So I don't know if I'm afraid of death, but I am completely sure that I don't like it and that I particularly would prefer to discover on my own whether immortality sucks and be able to make a decision about it. That's what I would prefer.
You have a choice in the matter.
I would like to have a choice in the matter.
Well, again, on the Russian thing, I think the finiteness of it is the thing that gives it a little flavor, a little spice. So,
well, in reinforcement learning, we believe that. That's why we have discount factors. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what you do.
Amen. Well, one last question, sticking on the Russian theme. You talked about your great grandparents, not remembering their name. What do you think is in this kind of Markov chain that is life? What do you think is the meaning of it all? What's the meaning of life?
Well, in a world where eventually you won't know who your great grandchildren are, I am reminded of something I heard once, or I read once that I really like, which is, it is well worth remembering that the entire universe, save for one trifling exception, is composed entirely of others. And I think that's the meaning of life.